We're live, Kate. We're live.
Happy last day of July.
What a beautiful month July has been. It really has been beautiful. It's the last week, apart from today, a bit cloudy, has been beautiful sun. And we had that lovely Illuminate catch up with the yoga community last week.
We did.
Yeah, July has been a nice month. What about you, Kate?
I think, our theme this whole month has been strength, and it's definitely felt strong, like everything that we did has added to the strength of what we're doing and what our community is bringing about. And but there's been a lot of it. It's been a busy one.
I don't think we ever have a month that we don't have lots on. And even when we share the catch up for this month, people will see there's a lot in pipeline for this month as well. So last day of July, tomorrow we move into August, and the month that is dedicated to the beautiful words of wisdom.
I'm pretty excited about this month. We do live in Australia. It's not -20 like it might be elsewhere in another person's winter somewhere. But it's still our coldest month, and we go deep down into the dark depths. So there's just so much that happens in those dark depths before we start to emerge into spring. And it's like, I don't know, for me, it's like everything compresses into the essence of what we've done during the year. Yeah. So we get really clear.
And, over the last month or two, we've been talking about the season of winter, haven't we? Where winter, we have the invitation to go within, go inward, to collect our thoughts, to reflect, to have that opportunity to dream before we take it out, which is, again, what the season is showing us. Everything is retracting and holding off until it's time to come out. And, August says that last month. So, I suppose if you aligned it with the cycle of the moon, which, obviously the seasons do follow that path as well. It's the balsamic moon. It's that part of the darkness where you're not quite sure yet what the light is, but the light is just around the corner. And there's a lot of surrender, a lot of trust, but a lot of quietness, like real inner quietness.
It's actually, everything happens in a cycle, doesn't it? And talking of wisdom, like as you get older, you understand that everything is cyclical, and it's not, where you are at is not the end of the story.
No.
And I think on a much bigger sense, what we're talking about I should say, perhaps the communities that we've invited to enjoy this talk with us about wisdom really represent, to me, what winter and wisdom and quiet and the essence and coming down to it actually are. So we've invited the end of life doulas to come along, and that's what happens, isn't it, with death? You've kind of distilled everything into those last moments of who you've been in this life, and everybody's relating to who you've been in this life, and then you're gone from this plane anyway. And then who knows in what version new life happens again, and then as birth, and then comes life, and then there comes death again, and birth and life and death, and that continual cyclical movement through that whole I always see it as round. I think every time I talk about cycles, I make it a round shape. But, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And I love our First Nations in this country's concept of what wellness is. And wellness they see as a birth, life, death continuum. So we're not only talking about the wellness of this little form that I'm in, but the wellness of the entire community, and how that stretches on into time, and how it's stretched back that way as well. And that's what wellness is, when everything is working as a whole. Yeah.
And that's to me as well, like when in the feeling in of the energy of wisdom and what it is to be wise. Like I often sort of sit there and think, okay, whenever we come into here, what does wisdom mean from a physical perspective? What does it mean on a mental perspective? What does it mean on a spiritual perspective? And, our body holds so much wisdom. Do you mean like it holds many memories, but it also has so much wisdom? Like there's so much that goes on a physical space that often we're unconsciously aware of what the body is doing to heal itself, to repair, to regenerate, to function. And then, as you've just said, that whole, relationship component, and often we're reminded that the answers that we seek come within, but it also comes with actually tapping into the people that walk before us and the ancient wisdom and the stories that they share and the things that have happened prior to us arriving here, and us knowing that we've got that connection all the way through our lineage.
It's true. It's that learning, we're here to learn. This is our place of learning, being on this earth. And the wisdom, I always see that as an embodied state that you're speaking to. So the wisdom is the begetting of the learning, and to the integration, and then the acting upon, and the exploration, etc., etc. So, you can go to university course after university course and still not be very wise. But if you've managed to go out into the world and experience, your learnings, and put them to use, and then see what comes from that, then that's what gives you wisdom, isn't it? That real thing of exploration and being there and being connected and having the courage to get out there and play with new things. That's what brings wisdom.
Which to me, as you said, is integration and it's experience. And like if I was to paint in my own mind what is a wise person, typically they're not the loudest in the room, but they're the most present. And they listen, they deeply listen, and they respectfully acknowledge. And they know, as you said, they understand that everything has its seasons and its cycles. Everything has its ability to contribute to that moment. And they also trust that things will unfold, and they may not have the answers right now. Maybe they don't need to know right now. Like a wise person, when you really are in the presence of that, really shows you trust and presence, don't you feel?
Totally. That's what being an elder is to me. And elder doesn't mean suddenly I've become 50, now I'm an elder. To me, you can have elders who are younger. You can have elders who are a lot older than that. But there's a beautiful book by Stephen Jenkinson, which is Come of Age. And I deeply encourage anybody here who's interested in elderhood. And his license to speak about this came from years and years in the death trade. So he was working with people dying for years and decades. And he's thought about it very, very deeply. And his concept in that book is that we're lacking elderhood. We haven't got a model for elderhood. We've kind of killed off the model, more or less, in our Western society, and that we really need to regain a concept of elderhood and respect for the aging process and the begetting of wisdom and the sharing of wisdom. And as you say, Deb, and as he says really, really clearly, actually, it's not the noisy person. It's not the person that's out there spouting all the facts at you. It's the person who's quietly quiet and just knows where to guide that thought process that you're having, or where to stimulate that conversation, or where to hold that family, or those little things that come from fine-tuning our capacities as we get older.
And as you just, what you've just articulated there, more inclined to connect or collaborate than to manipulate, to contribute rather than actually to force their will. Do you know what I mean? It's that wisdom that comes about, that we've all got a role to play here, and that, as you said, doesn't always come with age. It can often come with age, because I suppose we have many, many more experiences, but I've also met some people with age with them that are still very wise, and I've met some people that have wisdom beyond their years. Do you know what I mean? And it really, I don't know if they're the older souls walking on this planet or what it is, but wisdom to me, when I really, really feel into it, and when I've experienced it, it has had a strong presence and an awareness and acknowledgement of the soul within the other person as well. Do you mean they see you in a different light?
I've just had the most beautiful experience this month of being introduced to Nancy Parker, who is an older woman and is going to be part of our community, which is very exciting. But she's also an elder, and she sent me this book for free, which was really lovely. Messages from the Shells.
Beautiful.
And absolutely gorgeous. And then I got so inspired that I went out and bought her shell essences. And the one that was picked for me was something called Trocus. And because it relates to wisdom, I'm going to share this is a Trocus shell, in case you know that shell from your walks on the seashore. But the basic concept of the essence around Trocus shells is we are part of all that is. No separation or division. Our hearts are open. Mother Nature calls. Our wisdom within has now risen. I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
The wisdom within, that's where it is. It's like understanding our true nature, which is the nature of everything else, and coming into a balance and a realization of all of that, rather than I alone am striking forth in this egoic journey. It's coming into the ecocentric. Yeah.
So, Kate, we often talk about the dawning of the new earth and the new world, and that we're all sort of moving in a different direction than where we were before. Do you think that's part of it? You know, I we often have touched on, from a wellness perspective, we're still, I suppose, in some respects still experience it, but that whole sort of COVID focus really got people to go within and to reevaluate. Sometimes their working commitments, sometimes the way they connected with their family. But there was also this theme of a real yearning to get back to nature.
Everything is cyclical. And we've been through a very materialistic cycle. But it doesn't matter. You know, we keep saying you can't take your toys with you, but you can take your wisdom with you. So at that last moment, what matters more? You know, what kind of possessions you had, or who you were and who you are at that moment of death. And I'm hoping that the end of life doulas will talk to us, you know, preparing the way. That beautiful group, Helen Callanan and the beautiful Judson Hurst, and hopefully other people from their community are going to come and speak to us about exactly what you're asking right now. So, you know, we've all got our opinions, but they've got stronger opinions than others because they've spent a lot of time with those that are passing on. And I'm pretty excited. So I think we're going to be chatting to them. We should talk about that a little when we're going to be chatting to them. Can I introduce that, Jeff?
Yeah, definitely. And for me, I suppose I've really loved how we've broadened that definition of wellness to the whole cycle. Do you mean? Because it's part of the wellness journey, isn't it? And the role that Helen and her team are doing in that space. And I'm excited that, you know, we've got Jazine and Joe on there, but more will join us. Is that, you know, it's part of the overall, it's part of the cycle in the wellness journey. So you asked me to also pull a card, and I've got my little trusty Gaia pack. So did you want to say anything while I shuffle? Because
while you're shuffling, you know, beyond. Oh, it's been such a month that we've just had, and it's going to be an amazing month next month. And part of the big theming for this month, we've managed to accomplish the most incredible event called Healing on Country, which we held back at the beginning of July, on July the 3rd. And it was all about centralizing the role of First Nations and the wisdom cultures of old in the middle of the wellness equation. So it was an absolutely beautiful event. We had 110 people on a 36-knot freezing Sunday with flood warnings everywhere. And I guess we're going to talk about how we'll actualize that event and move forward now that we're coming into August. But let's talk about what we're going to do next month in a minute. And let's hear what you have to say.
Well, this little card popped in, and you can't see it because for some reason my background's now getting blurred, but it's an interesting one. It's called the Night Wind. So this beautiful image of the wind, it's night. It's got the dark night sky, which is actually connected to how we've just talked about it being the balsamic moon and the darkness of winter, and this tree that's sort of very strong, but also with the wind moving quite vigorously. And it's actually the normally with cards like this, they will have the three things underneath, which is called facing fear, subconscious release, and healing. Now, that's probably not the easiest card to weave in some respects initially when you look at the card and go, well, what's that all about? Because what often when this card comes in, it's talking about your sleep patterns and your cycles and your dreams. But as I'm feeling into it, I suppose it is a message that as we're moving into the last part of winter, and we're going to talk about the Lionsgate portal and what that actually releases and allows us as well, is that often sometimes in order to move forward, we need to release what's holding us back. And I think also too, in regards to the ancient wisdom, and we've always said that our nourish yourself, heal our world, is the pathway through that is for us to connect to our ancient wisdom. So I think both on an individual level and in what SoulAdvisor here is, I sort of see this as a card to say now is the time for us to do the work, to actually either do the work for our own dreaming or our own healing or our journaling, whatever practices that we have in play, or getting the support that we need to do so to actually for us to lift what needs to still be lifted so we can move forward. So that's what the card has come. It's, as I said, it's called Night Wind, and I feel it. What we because the journey, the wellness journey, and what we're doing isn't always light. Sometimes you actually
can you see what's happening to the picture of me right now?
Yes, you're getting darker.
It's actually moving into that night wind, and I feel like in the middle of winter, that's what we do. We remove all foliage, all extra, and it's really hard to let go of those belief systems. It's coming down to our most vulnerable. We're most vulnerable. It's like all the finery has disappeared and we're at our essential form, which is why we want to be cocoon. We don't want to go out there because we feel a bit raw. I'm going to go and turn a light on because I really am disappearing into the darkness.
Okay, get some light on. And I suppose for me, just speaking to that, like I think sometimes when we have these conversations as an industry, as a group or whatever, we only want to talk about the light. But in actual fact, we have both light and dark. And it's actually when the embracing of the darkness that we actually then get, it's that yin and yang that we get to embrace the light as well. Do you know what I mean? So there may be some things that we don't want to face into in ourselves, but until we do that, we can't step forward. And
you know what? It's so on point because, that's what we're doing. We've invited the end of life doulas to come along this month and talk to us about that point that we're all going to have when we die, and that puts everything else that we're doing in our life into relief, doesn't it? But it's the darkness, it's the emptiness, it's the solitude, it's the aloneness of death as we move through that transition point that really sheds a light on the other parts. So there's that cycle to really be thought about. And the other thing that comes up for me when you talk about that is, we're all about nourishing ourselves in this community to heal our world. And one of the very, very biggest things that's happening in this country, it's been in the news all weekend, is that we're heading towards a referendum, which is about truth, treaty, and voice. So, or whichever way you want to put that, voice, treaty, truth. But it's all about starting to talk about what it is to be a First Nations person in this country and the darkness that has been here in our country. Definitely. And then only from that can we come into the new stage. So there's so many great things happening, but that understanding of the darkness and the strength of admitting and feeling into the pain and the agony and the horror that's gone on in this country so that we can move forward into the light is really, really important. They both have to hold each other. It's got to be in balance.
And we've had this conversation, off this as well, Kate. It's not one-sided. It's us all have to face into that. There's been darkness on both sides of the equation. There is actually anger being held on both sides of the equation. There's obviously fear and vulnerability that we both have to actually step into on both sides of the equation. In order for us to all come together, both sides need to own their own darkness It can't be a point finger exercise. And so, if we truly want to heal as a country, what you've just touched on, then everyone needs to come to the, we call it the yarn circle, to the circle with all our darkness being either let go of or being open to let it go, and not to hold on and point the finger to say, I'll do the work once you've done yours. It needs to be on both sides, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yep, it's all out there. We're all humans. We have the whole gamut going on. We have the capacity to be Nelson Mandela or Hitler, and both at the same time. That's who we are. It's just, but it's the choices that we make about how we set this society up have to be based on that understanding that, it's not about blaming and shaming. It's just where history has taken us. And, people in this country have been very poorly treated for the last few hundred years, but before that, all the thousands and thousands of millennia that all of our ancestors, those of us who haven't got Aboriginal blood, have been through, same, like we've just been killing, maiming, raping, stabbing each other for millennia, and maybe now what we're doing is going to help move into the next era.
That's it. When we start to realize there is only one race, and it's the human race.
One race.
There is only one race, and we've all had our stories, we've all got our ancestry and our lineage, we've all got our pains, we've all got our suffering, and we actually need to all want to heal that if we are going to do that. Now, I've got a hello, ladies. I can only imagine that is our Adrian, because he always pops in and says hello, ladies. But if it's not, then lovely to have someone join us. But we're going to wrap up, Kate, with just what is ahead of us. So we know that we know on the 8th of the 8th, a few people would have probably seen this already, that the Lionsgate portal, and we know that actually already opened up to a degree on the 26th of July and will be open till the 12th of July. But the 8th of the 8th is when it is at its peak, at its most super potent moment for our own growth. But what I loved about it when I've read into it is that it is often described at that particular time, it's like a gateway through space and time that connects us with ancient wisdom. So this portal therefore connects us to our inner self, our spirit guides, our ancestors, the divine and the spirit realms. So what a beautiful place to sort of really start sort of putting in the energy that we want to create whatever we want to bring into our world, into our abundance, and also in the healings that we've touched on. So that's
absolutely. And it brings up, what we're going to be doing, the Illuminate event, our big event every month. In this case, Illuminate Wisdom, which is a shared event. And it's going to be fascinating because we're sharing it with Preparing the Way, the End of Life Doulas, and Wayapa work. So that's Sarah Jones and Jamie Thomas, who are the founders of Wayapa, which is a First Nations modality, much like Tai Chi, much like Qigong, which actually allows us to understand what connecting to country and connecting to our elders, both human and non-human, is all about. So I think it'll be an incredible event, actually. Yeah.
And a couple of days before that, though, on the 9th of August, we've actually got the International Day of Indigenous Wisdom there as well, Kate. And I think we've got something planned there as well in our Soul Connect video series.
We do. We're going to be connecting with a number of elders in our community, mostly First Nation, and we're going to invite them on and just have a yarn about what it is like to be an Indigenous person, and what indigeneity actually means, and where that lands, and what the International Day of Indigenous People is all about in terms of healing this planet. Yeah,
fantastic. And then after the Illuminated on the 11th, on the 12th to the 14th, we're very pleased to announce that our first Soul Alchemy Retreat will be going ahead, and it's already fully booked. So isn't that amazing, up in the Blue Mountains? So the team's looking forward to coming together for that.
Yeah, and then, that we don't have another retreat until November, I think we're thinking of, isn't it? Yeah, so it's a shame not to be able to say come one, come all, because we've had to close the doors on that. But there'll be another chance to join with us in November.
Yeah, and we'll do some thinking about how we might do some one-day type events, things like that in between. So we've definitely got our thinking cap on, because it was definitely a energetic response to say this is something we want to come together, we want to do. So we'll keep that going. So that then goes from the 12th to the 14th. And then what have we got planned?
On the 16th, we've got another discussion about what it is to be an elder. Yeah. And for that, we're going to invite 3 of our Indigenous elders because, we're really championing at the moment the whole connecting to country concept on our platform. So we'll have 3 elders, I hope, join us to talk about what it is to be an elder and what their visions are. And again, we may invite some other members of our community to do that too. But it should be an interesting discussion. Yeah.
And then we're doing an event on the 26th in New Country. So leading from the first Healing on Country event that you had a phenomenal response on the 3rd of July up against gale winds and rains, and over 100 people turned up there. We're going to have that happening there on the 26th.
That's right. We're at the moment embarked on a huge journey, and I really hope that a lot of people will follow and join in and get excited about this journey with us. But we're doing the prototype on Yuin Country. So Yuin Country extends from round about the Shoalhaven River, beyond that, from Gerringong all the way down to Narooma. But we're particularly focused on the Shoalhaven area. And following the Healing on Country, we've started to do an incredible lineup of cultural events so that we can really understand what it is to connect to country and understand what it is to connect to culture and what real community feels like around here, or always has. So we'll be inviting practitioners and therapists to join us on those. It's we're not yet moving it out to the wider community much. We're really hoping that practitioners and therapists will be interested enough to come along to the different things that we're offering. So one of the things that we're offering is on the 28th. It's on Sunday, and it's called Ochre, the Sweat of the Mother. So Jarapan Jimpa, please look him up. Actually, I'll put the link below on the Facebook, is an elder who's with us on our platform, and he'll be describing how ochre is used and helping us to paint up. And we'll be talking also a little bit about the history of ochre in this country, which is absolutely fascinating. And there was huge trade routes that moved all around the country for different ochres, for different healing reasons. So we'll be talking a little bit about what we know currently about ochre in this country, how it can be part of our healing journey and the healing of our connection to country. And then we've got the beautiful Michelle Heaton, who watch this space. I'm hoping this week she'll be up on our platform, is coming along to run the Waiapa workshop with us on the ground, which is great. Yeah. We've also talked about doing an online Waiapa work this month as well, because we're working with that community strongly. And so stay tuned again to this particular Facebook group, and you'll see an offer to come along to that as well.
Now, Adrian, I know Adrian's still with us, and he did acknowledge that it was himself that was saying hello. Adrian, I know that you're in the Darawal area, which is Wollongong, but I would love for you to join us if that resonated, and for anyone else that would like to travel down to the South Coast, we'd love to see you there, because I imagine it's going to be an amazing event. So, Kate, and then the last piece at the end of the month, we're looking of a concept of bringing practitioners together and connecting to community, and we're calling that Healing Hubs, which again is part of this prototype that we're testing out on the Yuin Country, and then we'll move that out into other areas. Oh, it says, yes, my Yuin Nation woman. Okay.
Oh, great. Beautiful. Yeah, okay. And here we all are.
Here we all are. So that will be happening at the end of the month as well, wasn't it? The Healing Hubs.
Absolutely. And more details to follow.
More details to follow. So Adrian says Professor Nagway Brown. Do you know Professor Brown, Kate? Okay.
No.
We might need to connect with you, Adrian, and do that, because that is definitely our focus for the next couple of months, is to really build the prototype in the Yuin Country and then take that to the other parts of New South Wales and beyond. That's amazing. So as you can see, Kate started off with the start of the month. July was very busy. August is also going to be filled with lots of different ways to connect, different conversations we're going to have. So a beautiful month that's dedicated to wisdom. I'm looking forward to the retreat. I'm also looking forward to the 11th of August, where we bring together the End of Life doulas and our Waiapa Uruk family. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Kate?
No, but just give yourself permission to have longer sleeps in this period of time, and to spend more time in bed and quietly and just thinking into your own deep inner wisdom, so that will make spring a whole lot more joyful.
That's a beautiful way to end. So have a beautiful rest of the Sunday evening, everybody. Thanks for being with us, and we'll hopefully connect with you over the next month.